Hey people, it's me again. So, anyways, it was one of the things that uh, that I was like doing, you know, well, this sort of manifestation was going on at that point, and I had mentioned, these sort of things, and then for some reason, I had this feeling of wanting to listen to all these different versions of that song Show Yourself from Frozen 2. And, because it was putting me in this sort of, I don't know what it is, like a funk, or that kind of like good emotions, or what do you would call it. Yeah. And then one in particular was like the German version of Show Yourself, which was called Zygedish, and it was sung by Wilhelmine Verkayak. And then she was the one who did Elsa's singing voice in the German version of Frozen, but she was also the one that did Elphaba in the first German production of Wicked. So that was one of the things there. And in a way, people tend to compare her with Idina Menzel as far as that goes. But the other thing about Wilhelmine is that she's Dutch. So German is one of the languages that she speaks. So she also speaks Dutch and English. And so there were a couple of videos where she was singing Let It Go in English, or Defying Gravity in English, as well as in Dutch, and as well as in German, And I remember last year on my trip to like LA at one point, and when my aunt was visiting, because my aunt was living in Boston, because my cousin and her husband live over in Boston, So, anyways, I was sharing that one performance where Wilhelmine was singing Let It Go in English, and then my aunt had commented that how she had a really great singing voice in this part, and especially like where she was bringing it home, like the last part of like Let It Go, where it's like that line where it's like, here I stand at the light of day, and that let the storm rage on, that part where they're going completely belting it all out, and it was like one of the other versions of Let It Go that I shared with Dad at one point when he was still around, and it was the German version of that one, because it was, in a way, she was almost saying the same thing in German, like hier bin ich in den hellen Licht. I mean, like, here I am in the brighter light, and it's like, when a storm zieht auf, I mean, like, let the storm go on, or something like that. And that was one of the things there. And then somehow I had like the urge to listen to like the other versions that I tend to like at that point, because there was, one that was in Spanish that like Let It Go and Show Yourself that I liked. And then it was like I started listening to the one that was in Finnish, because I think it also has to do with my new friend, as far as that goes. And in a way, the woman who did Elsa's voice, and I think she also does speaking and singing in Finnish. She did a really good job of like in capturing like Elsa as far as that goes. Like the only difference is that she's speaking and singing in Finnish, you know. And I forgot the whole story. For some reason, it somehow made me remind me of this story that they had on KKL Channel 9. And so this was kind of like a partly like Christmas of 91 or the start of 92. So it was like right after the fall of the Soviet Union. And where they were showing like how like these Russian kids are now being able to watch Disney for the first time. And then it was something like where I was asking Mom about like why does like Donald Duck sound a little bit different, but it was basically that they had somebody else, you know, doing Donald's voice in Russian, but it wouldn't really sound exactly like the same as it is in English, you know. And so that was like one of the things, you know, and this was like right, like the beginning of the Disney's Renaissance, and that was one of the things that was significantly the 90s was like the Disney Renaissance, you know. And it was one of the other little things that it never really occurred to me up until a couple of years ago, you know, when I was in 8th grade, and there was the whole Lion King, and I think I didn't really put the two and two together because we were doing Hamlet for my drama class that semester, you know, and in a way it was like, you know, The Lion King was kind of like Hamlet in a way, and then Lion King 2 was supposed to be like Romeo and Juliet, yeah. So that was like one of the things there. And I think with the drama class that we had to perform different, just one skit, or one part of Hamlet. And as far as that goes, I played Polonius, and this was another one where I had to memorize all these different lines because Polonius had that long spiel towards like Ophelia, but it was mainly because of the fact that he didn't really like Hamlet that much, but I think I have to kind of look into it a little bit further if what was his like motivation about that sort of thing, but I'm not exactly certain there. Yeah. So if I recall correctly, and then there was another one, and then one of the other groups did the one where King Hamlet goes visits Prince Hamlet, you know, and then another one was where Laertes finds out that Ophelia had died, and so he's trying to seek revenge against Hamlet, you know. So that was the thing there. And I think the whole reason I was also thinking of like the whole thing with Hamlet was, you know, where they had this Mass Effect Easter egg of like the Alcor Hamlet, you know, and if anybody that ever really played Mass Effect, you know what I'm talking about when it comes to the Alcor, because they always talk in this monotone voice. It's like insincere endorsement, you'll love Hamlet from Alcor's, like that. And what was so funny there was somebody had posted like Hamlet, Alcor, Return of the Jedi, or something like that. You know? And that whole scene where Darth Vader reveals that he is Luke's father. Yeah. And it was one of those other little things that they did as a joke to have like Darth Vader have a Finnish accent, and it was the same thing where they had that iconic scene from The Shining. You know, I keep forgetting it's like Danny. I forgot the guy's. I forgot what was Jack Nicholson's character's name in that movie, because he was supposed to say the same thing, but with like the Finnish accent. You know. So trying to think here. And then for some reason I was thinking of that show. It was like popular in the mid-90s on PBS, you know, Wishbone. I talked about that last year, and because somehow I was thinking of Wishbone, you know, and that was one where they were teaching kids about literature in a way, and about all the different literary works, you know, like Shakespeare, because they did do like their version of like Romeo and Juliet, and then The Tempest, you know, as far as that goes. And I think at the end of the episode, they would usually show like behind the scenes on how they put together the show, because there was one where they showed how they did the script writing or arranging, you know, the instrument, you know, for a soundtrack, and then one where they showed like maybe like how they do the lighting, and one time where they also meet like the Foley artist, and if anybody that knows what a Foley artist is, you know what I'm talking about. But it's basically where they do like this, go into a sound stage and do all these different sounds, because of the fact that, you know, when they record it, they're like some of the sounds aren't loud enough, so they would do these certain things like that, you know, or we're making the sounds like a dog running or something like that, or you know. So that was one of the things there. So I'm trying to think here, you know, but I'm kind of running out of things to talk about here. Yeah. So if I remember correctly, you know, when it came to this other stuff there that was also sharing with Dad at one point, because I don't know how I stumbled upon like that one opera aria from, you know, there's Zauberflöte, or it's the Magic Flute, and there was like the Queen of Night aria, and there's that one that's like the Hall Rock, but it's the one that people will know about but they just don't know the name of the aria, you know, as far as that goes. And Um, there was this one like soprano. I think her name was Diana Dramel, and I think she was kind of like one of the best. And then next to like Lucella Pop, you know, I think her name was Lucella Pop, or I don't really remember, but she was one of the legendary opera singers back in the day. Because there was a recording of her where she was singing that aria, and it was like the most best way that you would hear like someone sing that aria. Yeah. And there were other people that also sang the aria just as good or even better than her. And then there was one where I think it was like Meryl Streep had like played a character that was an opera singer, but she was like terrible, when she was trying to do that part, the coloratura portion of the aria, because that part is like it's a bit challenging because they have to go really high up, and then they have to hit the notes like kind of like not too quick, but not too slow, but and not too sloppy either. It's just like do kind of do it like with precision, So I'm trying to think here. There was another part of that whole opera was like one of the guys. It's one of the male characters. It was Sarastro, but he was like the baritone character, and he was singing that song that was called "O Isis" or "Osiris." Yeah, and I think that was one where I also shared it with Dad, and then But I remember watching this, like they adapted the opera into a kid's cartoon just to kind of condense it in a way, and so there were some musical parts to it, and then I keep forgetting the guy's name because he was supposed to be this prince who was like in love with Panama, and so like Sarastro was trying to put him to the test in a way because he wanted to make sure that Panama is with the right person and all, And at one point in that cartoon, I think it was that Sarastro was trying to find Panama because he's her father and been looking for her all this time. So I don't know if it's still there or not, but So anyways, I think I'm gonna have to stop right now because my throat's trying to get a little bit dry from talking, and So anyways, talk to you guys later.